Everybody, welcome back to Wicked Good Sports. I'm Brian, and I'm joined by my friend Chad to talk all about Julian Edleman. Chad, how you doing? I mean, it's an emotional time, I would imagine.
It is a rough day. Well, rough past week here to be a Patriots
Mm-hmm.
fan. Um, the man, the myth, the legend, Julian Edleman. He was, to me, he's always been one of my favorites. It was always Brady, Edelman, Gronk.
Mm,
Um, Gronk going was sad, and then Brady was like the biggest hit. But with
of
Edelman, it
course.
just feels like he was the last of that like Patriots team that we all know and love.
Mm,
Uh, the last missing piece. I mean, there's others like Devin McCourty, James White, but Edelman was like the hometown guy. You know, but
yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
it's sad to see him go. It feels like we're on to a whole new Patriots team now.
yeah, I was about to say, end of an. It truly feels like an end of an era. Like
Yeah,
Brady leaving was, of course, like the big end of an era, but like,
right.
yeah, this is. It's weird. It's like I don't know how to compare it. Like when a show goes on for a long time and like all the actors have left, except there's like the one person who hangs on, and then now he's
Yeah,
gone too. It's like
and then they kill him
it's
off.
weird, right? Right. So I mean, let's break it down right now. His career stats: he has in his career 620 receptions, 6,822 yards, 36 touchdowns, and of course he's added. I gotta find it. Another. Is that right? Another 30 touchdowns? No, that cannot be right. This website is incorrect, but he was a very prolific punt returner in his time. He there's that clip that was going around in on Twitter when he retired, where Wes Welker like missed a game, and Julian Edelman returned like a punt for a touchdown, and Bill Belichick was like giving Wes Welker a ton of shit. Like he was the guy before Lou Gehrig, and Wes Welker like obviously didn't know like what he was hinting at, but like I mean it
Yeah,
came to fruition, right? Like he took
yeah,
right over, and I guess in some ways he was kind of better than Welker in that in that role. What do you think from that perspective?
yeah. I mean, Walker, like you know, it's hard to say who's the better slot receiver, but
Mm,
Welker kind of invented that role here
right.
in New
Yeah.
England and carried on to the Broncos after.
Mm.
Um,
For a
but
little
I
bit
feel like
until he got concussed out of the
yeah,
league. Yeah.
but I feel like Edelman really like took over the role and then almost like perfected it. Like there's
Mhm.
no other slot receiver I would want on my team than Edelman. And maybe I'm biased, but I mean he's definitely in the conversation if you're thinking best like position player,
Right.
yeah, best role player.
Yeah, and I'm not a Patriots fan, so I think I can say without any bias, like he was definitely the kind of guy who's like, it's third down, they need to get a first down. I mean, look no further than when they beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game a couple of years ago. On that last drive to win in overtime, I think he had three third down receptions for first
Yeah,
downs.
something
Like,
crazy.
how do you let like Tom Brady's gonna throw to Julian Edelman on third down. How do you let it happen? And you just would consistently be open, and it's gonna be hard for them to replace. I don't know, like, what are your thoughts on who they have and who could potentially step up in this role?
I mean, with these two new tight ends here, Hunter Henry and Johnu Smith, I
Hmm.
think they can kind of make up for that, middle of the field pass
Right.
catcher. But, it's hard to fill a slot receiver hole, especially when they don't have really great weapons on the outside. I mean, who I think we just signed, I forget who the receiver was. Was it Nelson Aguilar?
Yep. Yep. Said Nelson
Yeah.
Aguilar
So
this
but he's
offseason.
not like a slot guy. He's like a
Yeah.
down the field, but
Hmm.
at least to my knowledge. But yeah, this feels like a totally new Patriots offense. At least, I mean, defense we still have a lot of those key players, but with
Hmm.
Edelman gone, to me it felt like the final, blow out the candle on the old Pats that we know.
Yeah, and I guess like probably no better time than like what are your like as a big Edelman fan, as a big Patriots fan, what are the moments that stand out to you from like Edelman in his career here?
To me, I mean, you got to think of the catch
The
against the
the
Falcons.
catch, yeah.
Oh my god. I love watching the video of that, and I was just like, I got it, I swear to God. He's even like, dude, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then just all the times of Edelman mic'd up on the bench yelling at Tom because he's too old. It's just like he's like such a cult hero around here, you know? Like everyone loves him around, around New England. We can talk about, is he Hall of Fame or not? I definitely have my thoughts on that. I think it's pretty much everyone's coming to consensus. But he's definitely a Hall of Fame Patriot. He's on the all-time Patriot team, no problem, in my opinion.
Probably jersey retired, probably like in the Ring of Honor.
Maybe, maybe.
Because I think he's just such an important part, especially of this like second wave of the second dynasty. Because the Patriots, of course, have 6 Super Bowls in their history, and like it's kind of like 2 different dynasties with Brady and Belichick at the head of each one of his second dynasty. Of their second dynasty, he's like the third behind Gronk and Brady, most important part of it. And like you said, I mean, that catch against the Falcons is one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I still to this day don't know how he caught that, or like sometimes in sports it's just like, oh, it was just meant to be, like he's just meant to catch that. They were just meant to come back and rip the hearts out of Falcons fans.
Greatest game of all time, at least for me. Maybe for New Englanders, maybe not for the people down there in Atlanta, but
yeah, I would imagine. I do enjoy on Reddit, especially like the 28-3 memes. Anytime,
I love it.
Anytime people can give it to Falcons fans, like at this point, I don't even know. Like they probably wake up in cold sweats, like thinking about that.
I mean, they're already miserable enough.
Yeah, I mean, just an absolutely brutal thing. And I guess, I think what's understated too is, they do have a lot of defensive veterans and a lot of leadership on that side of the ball, especially with Kyle Van Noy returning to Miami, or from Miami to New England, which I'm sad about, but it is what it is. As a Dolphins fan, but on offense, this is what his 10th year, 11th year, in the 12th. So he's been in the system. He's been around. He's a big veteran presence in that, and it's always sad to see someone like that go out because it's just like their body fails them. I mean, he's 34. He's no spring chicken in this in the NFL world. He's super young in regular life, but
no, I mean he is like a football player, not just like a wide receiver. Like he can throw. He was a punt returner. He was out there making tackles. And he was getting like the biggest hits like I've seen in football. Like all these crossing routes, like you're getting taken a hit from like a lineman. And Edelman's like, what's he, like 5'11", 5'10", maybe like 200 something. Like he's not a big guy, and like he's taking these hits, and you look at it like, holy shit, he's even gonna get up, and he springs right up, and then plays in like another down, gets hit again. Like he took a beating. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. Like you can't deny the guy. He's like one of the toughest people. I mean, we've heard all these ex-football players, or I mean current football players even, say like, he's like one of the toughest guys I've ever played against. Like he's insane.
He has to be to play that position, to be that good at it. As you said, he retires with a perfect passer rating. He's 6 for 6, 128 yards with a 1 touchdown, 158.3. So that's fun. I think one of the big moments that stand out to me. We talked about the catch against Baltimore in the playoffs, that touchdown to Amendola. That was pretty insane, and really got the Pats back into that, and they would go on to win that game, and honestly kind of ended that era of the Ravens. The Ravens and Patriots had a great rivalry for years in the playoffs, but after that I don't think they made the playoffs again until Lamar Jackson came along. So that to me always stands out as the dagger to the hearts of the Ravens, to get them off the Patriots back, if you will.
Yeah, but I mean, the elephant in the room is Julian Edleman a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, so it's tough. There are so many receivers who it's like a huge log jam, right? We have players like Reggie Wayne, who's I think a Hall of Famer, and he will get into the Hall of Fame. He's not in there now. Um, there's other players like Torrey Holt, who I think very much deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and somehow he hasn't, which is surprising to me, especially being a part of the Greatest Show on Turf back in the early 2000s and being like, it's not like he was killing it in obscurity, like someone like Jimmy Smith, who did kill it in obscurity. He won a couple of Super Bowls early with the Cowboys early in his career when he wasn't used much, but then he really like made it in Jacksonville. And then I also think like more tangential players like Derek Mason was always a great, player, over 10,000 yards in his career. He never won a Super Bowl, so that hurts. But I think it really comes down to what do the playoff stats mean for Hall of Famers, right?
Yep.
He was great in the playoffs. He has a Super Bowl MVP. That's pretty insane. Obviously, there's only been so many people to ever win Super Bowl MVP, so it's kind of hard. But I think it's a slam dunk that he's a Patriots Hall of Famer. But what do you think about him being in the Hall of Fame?
I think he's in the Hall of Very Good. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Because and I hate that that's like the first question everyone asks the second he retires. It's like, come on, give him a minute.
Can't celebrate his career.
Yeah, come on. Like, I mean, he's definitely in the conversation for like some of the best slot receivers, if not the best. He's, like you said, lockdown Hall of Fame for Patriots. But for the entire NFL, it's hard to say. I mean, I would bet on the no, because we've seen so many comparisons. Like I even saw one of Jordy Nelson, where Jordy had, I think, like was just shy of 9,000 yards. He had 72 touchdowns, so double Edlemans amount almost. Yeah. And I don't know exactly how many receptions, but Jordy Nelson's not in the Hall of Fame. So it's like,
like Jordy Nelson, when you say it right now, that's not someone who to me like jumps out as like, oh, that's a Hall of Famer.
No,
it's like he was awesome. Don't get me wrong, he was great, but like not a Hall of Famer. He's not Terrell Owens. He's not. Yeah. Even Calvin Johnson, who doesn't have the bulk stats, but he's in the Hall of Fame because when he was in the league, he was so dominant, and he had like nearly a 2,000 yard receiving year. Like it's so ridiculous. So it's like it's so hard. And like I said, there's a logjam. Like, there's so many wide receivers already that, like, should get in the Hall of Fame who aren't in the Hall of Fame. So it's like, it would be hard for me to see Julian Edelman get in when people like Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne and even Jimmy Smith aren't in the Hall of Fame yet. So we'll see.
It would be purely because of his postseason stats. I mean, he's got, like, 1,100 some odd yards just in postseason, but he's also been to like every single postseason that throughout his career. I think they made every single postseason except for one, and it was Brady's last year as a Patriot. So
it's like almost the exact inverse of someone like Brandon Marshall, who was on just shit teams his entire career and never made the playoffs, but he was always like one of the top receivers in the league. But same thing, I like Brandon Marshall a lot. He's a fellow podcaster like we are, but on the I Am Athlete podcast. But hi Ren, if you're watching. But he's the same thing as Jordan Nelson. When I think about Brandon Marshall, he's not someone who jumps off like that's a Hall of Fame player, even though his stats are up there. It's just it's so hard. I mean, look no further than fucking Zach Thomas. Like, that dude was top tier his entire career, and he's not in the Hall of Fame, and I don't know if he's going to get in the Hall of Fame anytime soon, because he was on the Dolphins almost his whole career. So
exactly. I think he's clutch. Like, Edelman will go down as one of the most clutch players. He shows up in those big moments. When you need him, he's going to make the play. But I just think the stats aren't there. I was looking at his year by year log, and there's only like a handful of seasons where he played all 16 games. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's postseason games that we're not counting there, but So he's been banged up, and maybe that's, in part of the reason why the stats aren't there. But you also got to think he was purely a slot receiver, like over the middle routes, 7 to 10 yards. Like,
Yeah.
He's not going deep every play. We're getting 50-yard, toss-ups, but so he's not going to have as many yards because he played his role. He's in the Hall of Fame for slot receivers. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, right. There's like a separate part of it, but yeah, I mean, it does him a disservice, I feel, to be like, oh, he's not a Hall of Famer, because I mean, most people who play football aren't Hall of Famers, and most people who play football don't have as good a career as Julian Edelman. So, like, exactly. I think it should be like remembered as a great player in his era and an important player for Patriots history.
100%. One of the handful of names that come up when I think, like, who are the most important people to the Patriots dynasty? Belichick, Brady, Gronk, Edelman, and then some key defensive players.
Right. So, I mean, is there anything else we want to add about him? I mean, we could gush over him, I think, a lot, but I think we already did a lot, right? Like, He
will be missed, that's for sure, and I'm excited to see, what he does in his career next. He's a pretty charismatic and funny guy, so.
Yeah, no, I think he has if he wants it, he has a career in radio, in, some type of media, like, from when I've heard him on various podcasts like Barstool and stuff, he's always struck me as a very fun and funny guy. So, he's only 34. He's old in football terms, but he's young in terms of his life. So, if he wants to do something, I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities for him.
Just make Burger Time an actual show.
Right, yeah, exactly. All right, Chad, where can we find you online?
Yep, you can find me on Instagram at ChadleyJP and on Twitter at ChadPerry25.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out that clip. If you liked it, hey, maybe subscribe for more. We got videos coming out all the time on this channel and a full-length podcast. You can find us on podcast services, or just wait until all the clips are released and then I'll release a video of them all together in one long episode. I think you'll like it.